In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 ways to invest your first $1,000 in Singapore. When I first started working and I saved my first $1,000, I wanted to start investing because every YouTuber out there was saying, if you don't start making your money work for you, then you'll always be working for money. So I was super excited to start investing, but I realized that I didn't know how to start because there were so many options out there. Fast forward to today, I've been investing for 4 to 5 years and I've made so many mistakes and I've learned so many lessons along the way. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to use one of the 5 ways to invest your first $1,000. So let's get into the video. So the first method is what I call the Hormozi method. Now this method is rather interesting because it is a very contrarian way of thinking, which is very different from what all the other YouTubers are talking, or even any of my friends that are talking right now. So instead of investing into things like stocks, bonds, real estate, these are all the main things that people talk about, Hormozi talks about investing into yourself. So a lot of people like to talk about investing into the S&P 500. He likes to talk about investing into the SME 500, which means that you're investing in your skills to learn how to market, to learn how to sell, to learn how to do sales and all those kind of things. He feels that you can get a bigger return on it. So long story short, if you invest $1,000 into the stock market of that year itself, let's say you get the maximum return, maybe about 7 to 10% a year. Let's say you get 10% in that sense, you'll get $100 at the end of the year. Okay, not too bad of a return, but nothing mind-blowing in that sense. The returns aren't too great either. But if you invest that whole $1,000 into yourself and you learn how to market, you learn how to create content, you learn how to create valuable things for people, then perhaps you'll be able to earn maybe around $2,000 to $3,000, which would be 20 to 30 times of that $100 amount that you might be able to earn, which is a pretty interesting amount. So a good example of that is me taking my stock options course that I was taking a couple years back, and I think I spent around $2,000 to $3,000 on that course itself. What happened was that I think from that day onwards, I started selling options, and I think to date I have earned around $8,000. So that is about a 2 to 3x kind of return on my entire sort of investment, which is a pretty good return compared to a 10% yearly return every single year in that sense. The second way that you can invest your money in Singapore would be into dividend paying stocks. So basically, like what it says, is stocks that pay dividends. Singapore is a very good place to invest into these stocks because unlike the US where they have about 15 to 20% dividend sort of income tax, in Singapore we don't have anything like that, which means ka-ching ka-ching, you get to keep all your dividend money. And one of the kinds of companies that I started investing in 2 years ago is called REITs. So they are real estate investment trust companies. So basically you put your money with them, they are going to use your money to buy property with it, and then they're going to rent it out. So you're kind of like a landlord, but you're taking part of it piece by piece in that sense, and whatever they earn as their monthly income, they're going to redistribute it back to you in the form of dividends any time of the year in that sense. So far, I have built up a $40,000 dividend portfolio, and the dividend yield is close to around 5% every year, which means that I'll be earning $2,000 per year. So assuming that you are investing that $1,000 that we're talking about for this video, then you'll be earning about $50 per year. This is not crazy money, but it is the closest to what I can call passive income, because the moment you put your money in, you really don't have to think about anything else, and you just have to sit tight and wait for the dividends to really come in, and that is the closest to passive income as you can get in that sense. The way I invest in these dividends is through this app called Momo, and I buy all the dividend investing companies through Momo itself. You can download the app down below with my link in the description box. The third way that you can invest your first $1,000 in Singapore is through side hustle. So this one I feel is a little bit more interesting because this is something that I think not a lot of YouTubers would talk about in the things to invest in, but I think it is something that is important to talk about and can be something that's potentially done in Singapore as well. By starting a side hustle, which is potentially like a mini business itself, so you can potentially earn more money than investing in the stock market with that $1,000 in itself. So of course there are risks to it because you might lose the entire $1,000 in that sense, but you stand to earn more and you also stand to learn more and also have fun in that sense. You stand to learn so many different skills just by starting a side hustle or starting a business on the side in that sense. So the side hustle that I did, if you didn't know already, if you watch all my YouTube videos, you'll see a lot of custom G-Shock watches. I started selling custom G-Shock watches online in Singapore. So I started exactly with this $1,000 that I'm talking about, this side hustle, and I think so far I've made around $1,400 in total earnings in around 6 to 7 months in that sense. So nothing crazy in that sense, not life-changing money, but essentially almost doubled my initial investment. And I'm looking, so from $1,000 I've earned $1,400 on top of the initial investment. So I've sort of doubled my money in that sense, which is pretty nice. And I don't know how many people can get their returns with that $1,000 in itself. The difficulty of course is in scaling the business, but I'm going to see if I can can continue on to see if I can scale this business in order to earn more money for the future in that sense. On top of everything else, I think I probably had more trouble but more fun investing in this side hustle as well. Compared to the dividend investing, it's probably a lot easier. Just dump in money, find a good company, dump in money, and then money will start rolling in slowly in that sense. May not be a lot, may not be able to be completely get back your entire investment in about 6 to 7 months, but just think about if I was able to scale this, it's going to become a lot more profitable than investing in these kind of dividend companies in that sense. So low risk, low return, high risk, high return in that sense. But learning how to invest in this side hustle has taught me how to be resourceful, how to troubleshoot, and also so many more valuable skills that will be useful for other things in the future, like starting a business, for example, if I want to do something like that. So those are also very interesting things. So of course, I would want you to go towards an area where you have interest in. So the G-Shock watches was an area where I was interested in, so of course I went towards that direction. You don't want to find something that you are totally no interest in, and it's such a chore to do, where you have your 9 to 5 job in the morning, and then when you come back home you have to do this thing as well. It's going to be very miserable for you, so no amount of money is worth that. So the fourth thing that you can invest your money in is called Singapore savings bonds. So these are basically bonds that are government backed in that sense, which are created for Singaporeans to counter inflation, which means that's the lowest risk. The government is basically guaranteeing your money for a small amount of interest that they will give you if you are able to keep your money with them. So it has one of the lowest risks, obviously, because it is backed by the government for the people to invest their money and put their money into in that sense. And this is how it works. So basically, you put a set amount of money into the bond. For example, you put 10k in, or maybe even 1,000 in that sense. So the interest that will be given would be around 3% per year roughly right now. I think this month is about 2.88%, but the last few months in that sense has been pretty good. Almost over 3% in that sense. And they will give you dividends twice a year in that sense. So which means if you invest $1,000, you will get about $30, and it's split twice a year. So you get $15 on each year in that sense. Of course, if you have more money, you want to put it more in. And I think you have a limit of up to $200,000 in total that you can invest in for the Singapore savings bonds. Otherwise, all the rich people will be putting their money in, and then they will get crazy returns for the amount of money they have. They never ever have to work again in their life in that sense, which is not the way it's going to work. So definitely not life-changing money again as well, but it's indeed one of the safest way to invest your money in Singapore, so that at least if you have any extra money in that sense, just put it in so that you can grow your money as well, and your money isn't just stagnant and you're losing money due to inflation in that sense. The last way to invest would be through index funds. So index funds are basically a whole basket of stocks that track the entire market in that sense. So for example, the one that you hear people talk about most often is the S&P 500 index fund. So it tracks the entire US market. So you don't have to buy individual stocks, which you're already thinking like you're afraid whether like the tech stocks like Apple, Facebook, all these kind of things, will they go up, will they go down, or like Tesla stocks. You don't have to really put your bet into it because you don't know whether it's going to go up, it's going to go down, but you're betting on the entire US market in a sense, where the US market has historically shown that it has been going up continuously for the last 20, 30 years, or however long that they have been in existence. So you're betting on a much safer kind of thing. Of course, the returns may not be as crazy as if, let's say, you invested in Tesla during the pandemic period and it 10x from now, but you get anywhere between 7 to 10% per year. And the legendary Warren Buffett also talks about it in that sense. If the average individual invests consistently in the stock market and the index fund, the S&P 500 index fund, you will probably be a millionaire by the time you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s in a sense, provided that you have been investing consistently throughout this entire period of time, which is a pretty good deal for anyone who is lazy, doesn't want to get into all the very specifics of investing. And most people have shown that they cannot beat the stock market anyway, so that's also very, very good in order to get into it. So if you want to invest into this in Singapore itself, you can also buy the S&P 500 index fund under this stock called VOO, and you can buy it on Moomoo app as well. That is going to be very, very useful for you as well. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll probably enjoy this video right here on how I made my first $100,000 in my 20s. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next few videos. Bye bye.